All right, let's close this door.
Light and leave it on.
All right, brothers. All right, fathers, man. It's just good to have y'all in here. My name is Carlos Christian. I'm the president and founder of the Starts Within organization. Like we was talking about before, what we do is we go inside of the prisons. We work with individuals before they get released. We work with them after they come home as well. Our main objective is to turn the penitentiary on its head, stand the community on its feet in the realest of ways. And right now, what we are in here to do is work with fathers so we can just restore the family structure. At the end of the day, I think that fathers don't, like a lot of fathers don't understand how important that we are, man, you know, and society don't understand how important that we are, how critical that we are to the development of our children. The way that we gonna be is based on the way that we was raised, right? The way that we are is based on the way that we was raised, man. And a lot of times we can find ourselves not being in places that we desire because we ain't had that right information, right? We was getting information from bogus places, and that's why we developed that philosophy to put us in a place that we don't want to be, right? What drew me here is I'm a father of 3 children. I got a 24-year-old son, I got a 13-year-old son, I got a 5-year-old daughter. Right? I got 3 different children's mothers. That's my story, right? And I got a strong relationship with all of my children. My 24-year-old, he was 3 months old when I got incarcerated at 19 years old for attempted murder, possession of drugs, drug trafficking, possession of firearms, right? I had to go and do 10 years inside a Marion Correctional Institution. When I say that fatherhood saved my life, fatherhood saved my life, because when I got inside a Marion Correctional Institution, I said, man, you know what? This stuff is corny. Not only is it corny, man, but if I don't do something to change the way that I'm going, then my son is going to enter into these same gates that I'm currently in. And what I realized being inside a Marion Correctional Institution, I literally felt like food on the table. They say if you ain't got a seat at the table, then more than likely you on the menu. And I ain't want to be no menu item, right? When I was in the streets, I started selling drugs when I was 13 years old. I had got hit at 19 years old. But when I got into the streets, my main objective, brothers, was to, man, obtain some type of power. But when I was incarcerated, I said, man, I ain't got the power that I'm looking for, right? This ain't it. You know, and I literally had to come to grips with that reality. And that's what drove me to really come against that philosophy that had put me there. Because I said that if I don't, then my son will adopt that same philosophy. And then 10 years from then, 20 years from then, he's going to end up coming right in the same situation that I'm currently in. How many people been incarcerated before and they seen they seen father and child in the same institution? Right. That stuff happens often, right? So then that's something that I did not want to happen. And the only way that we are going to prevent that from happening is if we put in the work to stop it from happening. If we don't plant the seed, brother, then we cannot expect no harvest. You can't go to the ground and say, ground, man, I'm hungry. Is it going to plant you? Is it going to grow you any crops? When is that ground going to produce crops, fellas? When you plant the seed. So then that's what it's about. So that's my main thing, is saying, man, you know, how do we plant the seed? Let's get to work. Let's start to go ahead and change the direction of our lives so we can end up in a different destination. Right? And not only will we end up in a different destination, but our children who we are responsible in leading, then they will also end up in a different destination. It's just coming to the grips with saying, man, how important are our children? If we just like, man, hey, they okay, you know, they gonna be okay, or I really don't care, or, you know, like, then what we gonna do? What they gonna do, right? Because I believe that children are a blessing from God, fellas. Right? I mean, they came here. We are assigned to them, right? Because everybody can't have children. Everybody don't have children. So we have been assigned to our children. We have something to give our children. This is what's crazy. We have something to give to our children. And not only do we have something to give to our children to help with their development, that means that they're not going to be the people that they need to be if we don't give them what we need to give them because they've been assigned to us. But not only do we have something to give to them, but they have something to give to us. That means that we will not live the life that we want to live if we don't be that father that we are supposed to be. The quality of our lives will be stripped if we don't be the father that we need to be with our children. If we don't get from our children what we are supposed to get. What are we supposed to get? And I tell people every day, man, like the person that you got to become to parent your children, like I literally had to like become a whole different individual to be able to say, man, I'm going to be there for my children. I've been home for 14 years, man. Because I said that, man, I'm not going back inside, period, point blank. If I go back inside, my son will go back inside. I've had 2 children since I've been home. My 5-year-old daughter and my 13-year-old son. I got a divorce when my son was in the 2nd grade. My son stays with me. 5 days of the week, he goes with his mother on the weekends. Me and my daughter's mother, we alternate weeks. So I get my daughter week on, week off. I'm just right now fresh off of my week on. Brothers, and do you know how it feels when I hit that Friday? I feel like an accomplishment because me working with my daughter at 5 years old, man, she tries every bit of me. Like dead serious. So when I make it to the Friday, I'm like, man, I made it to the Friday. Like I gotta go back and forth with her to get her into the tub. She don't want to eat this. She don't want to eat that, right? She wants to play. Man, can you brush your teeth? Will you do this? Man, you ain't heard what I said. Oh, you ignoring me, right? I'm going back and forth with her. So the things that my daughter, she challenges me in all different types of areas. So the sacrifice that I make, brothers, to be able to be the father for her, man, that makes me become the individual that I need to be. And that's how I'm able to experience a different level of living, brother. This stuff is beautiful. Just to have the influence with my children, because I want more influence with my children than the people out there in the streets. I want more influence with my children than the businesses. What is the business's main objective? To make money. That means that they're trying to make a profit. That means that Young Jeezy or Ricky Rose, they gonna sit up there and say, man, go ahead and shoot up the block. Go ahead and sell all that dope. And then they ain't gonna sit up there and do the time when they go ahead and shoot up the block or when they sell all that dope. Matter of fact, they are telling their children, go ahead and go to private school. They sending their children to colleges, but they telling our children, go ahead and get into the trap house. Like, I don't want my children to be fooled, brothers. And if we don't fight, guess what's going to happen? If we don't fight for our children to be the best that they need to be, somebody is going to fight for them to be fooled. That means that they're going to be somebody's salary. That's just the reality, fellas. So then that's why it's so serious. This parenting piece is serious. My 3rd book I wrote is The Greatest Responsibility, because I said, man, we are responsible for the development of an actual individual. What responsibility is greater than that? I ask people all the time, man, if you going to change brakes or if you want to take on a profession where you doing auto mechanics or you taking on a profession where you doing business, wouldn't you get additional education to take on that profession?
I hope so.
So how come we don't go out there and get additional education to take on this great responsibility? Why do we just wing it? Like I ask people all the time, man, hey, what type of parenting classes have you taken? And people be like, nah, I didn't know anything about parenting classes until I started teaching it. And then when I started teaching it, I'm like, wow, man, I'm really using this stuff. It puts you in a different place because now it's like, man, hey, what I am doing, I am expecting a desired result. That means I am designing my destiny. I am designing where I'm taking my children, right? It's a beautiful thing instead of us just ending up any old where because it's not by design. Brother, if you ain't designing your future, then somebody else is going to be designing your future for you. So it's on you to design your future. It's on you to design the future of your children. So I'm like, man, ain't nobody designing, man, my children's future. Because when people start to design our children's future, what they'll say is that, man, you know what? Hey, if they are below reading level in the fourth grade, then the likelihood of them getting incarcerated is great. So let's go ahead and build prisons so we can go ahead and house that child, because once they become older, they will get incarcerated. So let's invest into a prison so we can house that child who's going to grow up and get incarcerated, because right now they are below reading level. Like, this is what happens, fellas. So that's why I say, man, I'm going to design my children's future. And that's what it's about. So everything that we're going to be talking about in this class is establishing a strong, positive relationship. What is a strong, positive relationship? A strong, positive relationship is a relationship without barriers. Our main objective is to do what? Transfer information. That's our main objective. So that's why we want to have a relationship without barriers, right? I want to be able to give my children the information that I want them to have. So when they're going out there to function in life, they are functioning off of the information that I have given them. That means that they are not functioning off of bogus information. Do you have more experience than your children? You have to, right? Because you're older than your children. That means that you know the things that ain't working, right? And you know the things that is working. Do you want your children to duplicate your same errors that you have already made? Like, that's the question. Do we want our children to duplicate our same errors? That means that you already know it to be error, and your children will go ahead and do that same error, commit that same error now at their age. I want my children to make new errors, brother. Errors that I didn't know was an error. I don't want my child to make an error that I already know to be error, an error that I've already experienced failure from. I want them to make new errors, brothers. That means that they are getting further than I've gotten. But if they're making my same errors, brothers, they're going to end up in the same place that I'm at. That's how you see, man, you know, generations of the same old stuff. Generations of poverty, generations of incarceration. Like, seriously, you see generations of this stuff. Like, it's like, man, great-grandfather was incarcerated, the grandfather was incarcerated, the father was incarcerated, now Junior is incarcerated. Like, you see generations of this stuff. Why? Because the information is not transferring, because people are committing the same exact errors, because the relationships is not strong enough with the family members to prevent the errors from being duplicated. The influence is not there. And fellas, this is what it is. If our children don't like us, guess what? They ain't gonna like the information that we got to give them. And that's what we don't want to happen. So this is what the strong, positive relationship is all about. All right? All right, cool. So this is the first layer in establishing a strong, positive relationship with our children. The first place that we are going to start at is where? Is what type of father are we going to deliver to our children? We don't want our children to get any old father, so we want our children to understand that we are thinking about who we are giving them. That means we are thinking about the way that we are interacting with them. We are not just doing any old thing when we are in their presence. We are doing things with an intention. We are intentional and deliberate about what we are doing when we are in their presence. Does that make sense? So we're going to think about, man, what type of father we're going to deliver to our children, right? And we're going to be focused. We're going to be focused, right? So the first thing that we want to do to figure out, man, what type of father that we want to deliver to our children is none other than saying, man, we're going to reflect. So when we reflect, this is what we're going to do. We're going to reflect on our past. Look at the interactions that we had with our parents, right? And when we think about the interactions that we had with our parents, we look at what? We look at the positive interactions that we had with our parents first. That's the first thing that we do. And when we see those positive interactions, what do you think that we do when we determining what type of father that we going to be with our children? What do you think we do?
Fix the everything, man.
No, if we look at the positive interactions, what are we going to do with the positive interactions?
We're positive, we're going to repeat it.
We're going to repeat them. We're going to duplicate them. We're going to duplicate them, right? We're going to duplicate the positive interactions. So we're going to give our children the same positive interactions that was given to us. Why? Because we already know it's going to give them the positive feelings. Because when we reflected, we said, you know what, I liked it. I like when my mom did that. I like when my father did that. You know, and I'm going to give my children the same thing that I already know to be right. So I'm going to be intentional about making sure that they have that same experience. But I'm thinking about it, right? So when we think about those positive interactions, we just got to go ahead and rewind and just take some time. And this is what you'll probably do tonight when you're on your bed or whatever may be the case. Just think about those positive interactions that you had that produced the positive feelings inside of you when you were a child. That means that when your people came to you and they said, hey, man, I'm going to go ahead and take you to Dairy Queen out the blue. And you said, man, I felt good about that. You know, that was sweet, you know. Or when your people will sit up there and say, man, you know what? Hey, man, we're going to go to Cedar Point out the blue, or they planned family trips or whatever they did that produced the positive feelings. Guess what you'll do? You'll just duplicate that. It can be anything, right? It can be them saying, man, hey, let's go ahead for a ride. You can roll with me. I used to love when my father used to let me go everywhere with him. My father raised me and my brother, right? My mother, she wasn't able to be there. She had got caught up. She recovered, though, and she's here now. So she's cool. But she couldn't be there when we was growing up. But my father was there to raise me and my brother. But he always allowed us to go everywhere with him, at least me. Every time I said, can I go? He'd be like, yeah. So now when my daughter or my son be like, can I go? Guess what I do? Because, you know, sometimes it can be inconvenient when they do go with you to the store and things like that, and you really don't want them to go. I'm just being honest. But what makes me let them go is because I remember how it used to feel with me when I was allowed to go. So I'm intentional about what I'm doing. So now what I feel doesn't matter because I'm thinking about what type of father that I'm giving to my children. I'm making sure that they are getting a father that I want them to have, and not just any old father. This is the father that I've thought about. This is the first step that we got to take it to establishing a strong, positive relationship. This is telling our children that you matter, child. You matter so much that I'm going to think about what type of person that I'm going to be in your presence. I'm not going to be any old type of person. That means that I'm going to reflect in my past, and I'm going to think about what was the positive things, and I'm going to duplicate that positive and make sure that you get those same positive experiences. My father, he used to come outside. He used to go ahead and play all-time quarterback with me and my friends. I used to love that stuff. He used to be like, man, I'm the all-time quarterback. And when he was the all-time quarterback, he used to fit it into me quadruple coverage. I kid you not. I mean, I was like covered like quadruple. Sometimes 5 people was on me. He fit it in regardless, right? Everybody on this whole side of the field was open, but he always threw it to me. I used to love that stuff, right? I would go deep, like, boom, go ahead, throw it, like, and I'm like this, Randy Moss on him, right? And I used to love that stuff. And not only did I love that, but I loved when my friends used to be like, man, your dad cool than a mug, man. He out here, man, playing with us. He the all-time quarterback, man. We don't get the ball, but we still got a possibility of getting the ball, man, you know, and that's good enough for us because they ain't have fathers, right? So they was like, man, it's just cool that he just taking time to kick it with us. So I used to love the way that they used to talk about my father. It produced some positive feelings inside of me, right? So now what do I do as a father? I make myself accessible to my children and their friends, just like my father made himself accessible to me and my friends. I'm intentional about what I'm doing. Why am I making myself accessible to my children and their friends? Because I understand that it's going to produce a positive feeling on the inside. And what am I trying to do? I am trying to establish a strong, positive relationship, right? I am using my mind to serve the relationship between me and my children. We think our way through this thing, brothers. It ain't no feeling. You feel your way, man, you gonna feel your way right off the cliff. Brother, we gotta think our way. Use our mind. That's the greatest asset that we have is our mind. So we need to use it to think, right? That's what it's about. So when I'm doing that with my children, I'm intentional about what I'm doing. So when my daughter comes down and we'll be on the playground and she'll be like, man, hey, no lie. She'll come to she'll on the playground with her friends. She got all her crew with her. And she like, Dad, hey, man, can you be the lava monster? 5 years old. Hey, you gonna be the lava monster? I said, what's lava monster, daughter? She's like, you gotta chase us all around. You gotta chase us around and catch us, man. The lava monster. And I'm like, man, all right, cool. Man, it don't matter if I'm tired. It don't matter if it's hot or not. I'm like, man, I'm the lava monster. So here I am on the playground. Lava monster. I'm on the monkey bars, brothers, like this. Boom. Boom, boom, I'm sweating bullets just like you see now. I'm like, lava monster, lava monster. I'm running around on the playground, picking some of the kids up, throwing them on my shoulder. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that because I'm making myself accessible to my daughter and her friends, just like my father made himself accessible to me and my friends. Why am I doing that? Because I want to establish a strong, positive relationship. How do you establish a strong, positive relationship? When you do things that is going to create the positive feelings on the inside. Brothers, have you been in somebody's presence when you just don't like them? When you like, man, it's just something about you, man. I don't even like you. And if you feel like that about that person, can that person give you anything? Now, what you talking, man? Ain't nobody talking to you. Like, ain't nobody, man, get that stuff away from me, right? Our children can get in the same place if they feel negatively on the inside in regard to us. If we are doing some things that make them become negative towards us, they're going to do what we tell them to do to a certain extent, but they ain't going to take that information that we got to give them. So that's what we want to make sure that we do. First thing we do, we duplicate the positive. Does that make sense, fellas? All right, so now, because the only thing that we're doing is we understanding, man, what type of father that we are delivering to our children, because we saying, man, this stuff matters so much that I'm going to think about, man, what type of father that I'm going to be with my child, man. So when somebody asks me, man, what type of father are you? I'm going to be able to be like, boom, boom, boom. I do this because of that. I do this because of that. I do this because of that. And I'm expecting that result from doing this. I'm expecting this result from doing that. I'm expecting that result from doing this. I'm not winging it. I'm not in autopilot. I am conscious. I'm not sleepwalking in my fatherhood. I am conscious as a father. Serious, right? Like, brother, we got to be serious about this stuff. If we ain't serious about life, brother, somebody else is going to be serious about our lives. If we ain't managing this stuff, man, somebody else is going to be there to manage it. So after we look at the positive, right, interaction that we had with our parents, what's the next thing that you think that we do? Right. It's only right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify and resist the negative interactions that I had with my parents when I were younger. That means what was the things that your parents did that created the negative feelings on the inside of you? Can you think about that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is what happens, and I kid you not. If we don't think about those negative interactions that we had with our parents and then consciously resist those negative interactions from giving that to our children will suffer and feel those same negative interactions that we felt when we were younger. Why? Because you parent the way that you was parented unconsciously. So then that's why it is on us to become conscious and say, I'm not about to give you that same poison that was given to me back then. That means that when I used to look out in the stands and my father wasn't there or my mother wasn't there, it made me feel a certain type of way. When I was playing football, when I was playing basketball, and nobody was there to cheer me on, it made me feel a certain type of way. So now what do I do as a father?
Show up.
I show up. That means that I don't want my children to experience the same thing that I experienced that I already know to be negative. So when somebody is saying, hey, Los, come over here and do this. Hey, Los, come over here and do that, man. Yeah, hey, you can catch the next game. Or you can catch the next game. It ain't that important, man. It's 10 games. You can miss that one. If you miss one, you'll miss two. If you miss two, you'll miss three. You know, it gets easier and easier. But if I know what type of father that I want to be, and I say that I want to be a father that's present, I want to be a father that's at that game cheering my child on, then guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make sure that when somebody says, hey, Carlos, come over here and kick it, I'm going to be like, I can't kick it because I got something to do. I made a commitment. I know what type of father that I want to be. I want to be a father that's at the game, so I got something to do. Brothers, my schedule is scheduled. My whole work schedule is around my children. My children is like the most important. That's my responsibility. So I make sure that I'm there. My daughter sees me every day. My son sees me every day. So this is what we want to do. We want to identify and resist the negative. I hear fathers say, man, you know what? I didn't like it when my parents would just cuss me out. I didn't like it when my parents would, like, I got a negative feeling when they used to say, man, you lazy, or you stupid, you dumb. I got a negative feeling when they would talk to me like that. Guess what? The thing for you to do is to resist that. And when you get in your feelings and when you get angry, don't give your children that same thing, because your children gonna make errors, right? And when they make those errors, don't respond the same way that your parents responded to you, because you already know that it produces what? The negative feelings. If we ain't thinking about it, brothers, it's going to surface in our parenting. And that's why it's on us to think about it. But it's going to take us first saying, man, you know what? This is the positive. I'm going to duplicate that. This is the negative. I'm going to identify and I'm going to resist that. And I'm going to make sure that they don't get that right there. Why? Because we're going to get that positive relationship with our children. Is that making sense, fellas? Is that applicable? Okay, good, cool. Now the next thing that we want to do, after we look at the positive and then we identify the negative, we resist the negative, the next thing that we want to do, fellas, and we wrapping it up, we on time, right? The next thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we look outside of ourselves. Look at other fathers who doing things in the neighborhood, in the community, or whatever may be the case, and you like the way that they groove with their children. And you say, man, I like that, man. I'm going to go ahead and apply that to my parenting as well, right? And say, man, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. One of the parents that I used to see, I talked to, they say, man, we do movie night. I say, you do movie night? Yeah, I do movie night once a week. I say, oh, that's dope. So then they know that we're going to have movie night once a week. I've been doing movie night, man, once a week, every Thursday for the past year. I pulled that from another parent. You see what I'm saying? Because ain't nothing new under the sun. So it was a good idea for that parent to do movie night. I said, man, yeah, I think that my children would enjoy movie night. That gives us a block of time that we are going to be guaranteed that we are going to spend together. So I'm going to make sure that I do movie night at least once a week. I'm going to make that a habit. So every Thursday it's movie night. And we go to the pizza place. We get a pizza. We go to Kroger, right? Get the dollar candy. Get the popcorn. Right? Do all of that, and then we get the Red Box movie, boom, movie night. It's clockwork, brothers. Y'all look at my Facebook page, y'all see that stuff on my Facebook page every week. Movie night. I'm intentional and deliberate about what I'm doing. I pulled that from another father. I said, man, you know what? That makes sense. I want to be that type of father that does movie night. So you see what I'm doing? I'm just building this type of father that I want to give to my children. I'm thinking about, man, who I am with my children. If we don't think about who we are with our children, then how can we have a strong relationship? It's difficult to have a strong relationship if we ain't thinking about how we interacting with our children when we are around them. That's our responsibility. We service the relationship between our children and ourselves with our mind. This is what this parenting class is all about, brothers. I know y'all might have thought that we was going to be talking about, man, this is how you carry the baby. You know, this is how you make the bottle. You put this on there. Nah, brother, this is something different, right? This is like parenting on steroids, brothers. So we can be intentional and deliberate about what we are doing with these little ones. So we can be intentional and deliberate about where we are taking them to. So when they grow up, they're going to be like, man, I got everything that I need in my tool belt.
In here, sorry. Good.
Right. I got everything that I need in my tool belt. Who want their children to come back to them and say, man, you know what, Dad? I don't have the right tools to be able to go at life with. You ain't give me the right tools, Dad. Only thing you gave me was a butter knife. That's the only tool that you gave me in my tool belt is a butter knife. And I see my counterparts over there putting stuff together, breaking stuff down. They got electrical drills. They got all of the bits. They got the Phillips head screwdriver. They got the flathead screwdriver. They got all of that. And I'm over here trying to unscrew a Phillips head screw with a dang on flathead screwdriver or a butter knife. That's all I got. That's all you gave me, Dad. And I realized that you ain't give me the tools that I needed to have when I seen everybody else over here breaking stuff down, building stuff up, and I'm over here struggling. Figuratively, brothers. Struggling with life. I don't know how to respond. I don't know how to look at myself. I'm trying to fit in. I'm trying to, man, please people. That's because I don't know, right? And because I don't know how to fit in work life is working me. Because I don't know how to manage my life, man, life is dragging me everywhere that it wants me to go. And life will abuse you, brothers. If you ain't got the mind to be able to manage it. And the reason why we don't have the mind to be able to manage it is because we haven't been developed with the mind to manage it. The responsibility of a father. The responsibility of a father. How can we do this job like this? Brothers, no. I'm telling y'all, brothers, I'm so doggone serious. I am aggressive about my parenting. I am aggressive about my children. Because if I ain't aggressive about my parenting, if I ain't aggressive about my children, somebody else is going to be aggressive about my children, about where they need to be. And if they're aggressive about them, you guarantee that they're going to be somebody's dang on menu item. Like, brothers, this stuff ain't no joke. So the first place that we want to start at is making sure that we are thinking about, man, who are we? This parenting piece, it starts with us. I want my children to look at me and say, man, my father is not just, man, doing any old thing with me. It's been times when, man, my children are making error. They'll drop spaghetti on the floor after I done just cleaned up. Man, I'll be feeling like, man, you know what? What the heck is wrong with you, you know? But what I say is, man, people make mistakes, man. Go ahead and clean that stuff up, man. I'm telling you, I find myself in them situations all the time when they be trying me in the different places that they be trying me at. But I'm like, man, I can't go ahead and break them down because if I break them down, then they will be broken. And if they are broken, then they will be vulnerable to the society that's waiting on for them to come in it. And plus, I ain't like it when I was talked to like that. When I made an error, right? So I'm just being intentional, brothers. So this first session is all about us becoming conscious and what type of fathers that we want to be. You know what I'm saying? And say, this is why I want to be this type of father. And we should be able to write that stuff out and be able to talk about it. Focus on it. Because when you focus on it, then that's what you become. You can only control two things in your life, brothers. You can only control two things in the world. You, personally, is your attitude and your focus. What is your attitude and what is your focus? What are you focused on? A lot of times people be focused on nothing. When we leave out of here, people talk conversations that ain't going to get them nowhere, right? Man, this is who got to wait on here. This is who just got robbed. This is who got killed. You know, about everybody else, man, that's not going to get you nowhere. It's just not. It's not going to get your children nowhere. People tap the lines on the outside. Hey, man, what's going on? Nothing, chilling. What's up? What's such and such doing? Brother, how's that going to be able to help you to progress? So when we focus on the things that matter, and that's how we'll have a fulfilled life. That's what I said when I was 19. During that 10 years, I said, man, I'm about to focus on the things that matter. Now, I ain't focusing on the brothers out there talking about, man, Los real, he's solid, man. He held down his crown. I ain't focused on that because ain't none of that free me. Man, Los, man, free Los, man, ain't none of that free me. I had to do every bit of that 10. And ain't nobody say, hey, I'm going to do a summer for you, Lo. You can come out, and I'm going to come in and do a summer for you. I did every bit of that 10. So I said, I'm going to stop focusing on, man, what people is thinking. What people is thinking is none of my business. I'm going to focus on what matters to me. What matters to me is my son. What matters to me is my child. So I'm going to make sure that I become the man that I need to be so I can lead my child in the direction. If I can't lead myself, then how the heck can I lead my children? If I can't figure it out, then how the heck can I help my children figure it out? Man, if I'm falling asleep behind the wheel of the getaway car, then guess what? My children going to do the same thing. And they are going to experience failure. Brothers, I ain't never wanted to lose in nothing. I'm not okay with losing. And losing is accomplished by what? A mindset. He who says he can and he who says he can't are both right. Yeah. If you say you don't have nothing to offer your children will get nothing from you but what is negative. And then it will be up to them to turn that negative into a positive. When they are developing, they're going to say, that's who I don't want to be like. That's what they're going to get. If you say, I can't. If you say you can, then you will. You will put in the work that's necessary to be the father that your children need you to be. Does that make sense? How y'all feel, brothers? Is it good information?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's good, son.
Good.
Good information?
None of us want to see our children be in a situation we're in right now.
Right.
At all.
Right. And this doesn't just happen, right?
Right.
This doesn't just happen. And if we can reflect back on our childhood, we can see how it might have, could have started to happen. Brothers just don't get 10 years just because he gets 10 years. You got to work for 10 years. You got to work. You got to work to get in these type of places, brothers. You got to be committed. Right? Everybody don't make it here. You got to be committed. So that's what it's about, fellas. That's what it's about. So give me some feedback, man. What y'all think, man?
I'm about to ask you don't get a little aggressive with your boys? Like you don't talk sweet to them all the time.
Right, no doubt. I I come with a firm voice, right?
Yeah.
I come with a firm voice. I'm glad you said that because my father, I told you he was coming out there, all-time quarterback, throwing the football and stuff like that. He was my guy. He used to, man, drop jelly donuts off at the school out of the blue, right? I used to love that stuff. He used to just drop them off and they would call me down to the office and be like, you got jelly donuts down here from your favorite bakery. I was able to eat that for lunch. But my father, when something happened and it wasn't the right stuff and we did wrong, that brother took it to another level. I'm talking about he blew a lid. That brother would be like, ah! He would scream so loud and we literally thought, me and my brother, like, man, our lives was at danger. I used to feel like, man, I might not make it out of here because he had guns and stuff like that too. I'm like, man, hey, man, he about to take our lives, man. He never whipped us though. This is what's crazy. He never whipped us. But when he would go ahead and get into it and he'd be like, man, I'm telling y'all think I'm a toy? Y'all think I'm a toy? You think I'm a game? Like, and I'd be like, no, dang, we was just playing, right? Like, dang. And he would just go all the way up top. That would make me feel unsafe, brother. I didn't feel like that I was going to make it out of the room. That stuff made me feel a certain type of way. I remember I came down the steps one day and my father had the pistol to our dog's head because he had messed around and got into the trash and diarrheaed all over the carpet, right? And I seen him have our dog on the couch and he just talking to our dog and our dog sitting on the couch with his ears to the back like this and he had the pistol to his head like, I'll blow your effing head off. Like, you always in the stuff, right? I'm like, that's our family dog. It made me feel unsafe. See, one of the things that is difficult to do, especially when you got a father or a parent that just like touch your heart and you know that they've done a lot of things right, it's difficult to look at some of the errors that they committed. But what I tell people is it's some right in the wrong of us and it's some wrong in the right of us. Ain't nobody doing it all the way right. Ain't nobody doing it all the way wrong, right? People try to make it seem like that, but that's false. So what I do know is that it is some wrong in every right. So then I got to look at that wrong. So when you ask me, do I raise my voice, brother, more time, I don't. The reason why I don't is because I resist it. But I'm telling you, I be wanting to. And sometimes I do, right? But I pass the test a lot of the times because I'm thinking a lot of the times. But sometimes I'm like, man, dang, this is crazy. You trying to play me? Like, what the heck? And I go on my rampage, right? But I'm getting better and better with it, right? Like, that's all we can do is just continue to get better and better with it. So I make sure that when I'm feeling like doing it, I stop it. And I'll be like, more times than not, I'll be like, man, what's going on? Now, listen, did you hear what I just said? Now it's like it's like you intentionally not listening to me. My daughter, she does this. I say, it's like you intentionally not listening to me. Like, I just feel a bit of disrespect, man. Like you hurting my feelings. This is what I tell her. Like, I'm trying to talk to her like this to try to get her to come in, right? Like, man, Dad, I just said, get up. It's time to get into the bathtub. Like, daughter, like, what's going on? And she playing and playing and playing. And I'm like, you think I'm not playing? I'm not no toy, right? So I work on that. But guess what? That's how I do it because I'm thinking my way through it. I know that if I sit up here and go and blow a lid, guess what? My children can feel unsafe like I felt unsafe when I was a child. And I don't want to do that. So I resist the temptation from delivering my children that because I already know the result. I'm thinking my way through it. It makes sense? Mm-hmm. Anything else, brothers?
We'll save more for the next episode.
Ain't no doubt, man. Ain't no doubt, man.
How many different prisons and jails have you went to around here?
Man, all of them, man. So yeah. I'm all around the state, man. I have access to all of the prisons in the state. Yeah, all of the prisons in the state. I got connected with the people at the top. I've been able to have access to all of the prisons in the state. It's a beautiful thing, man. For brothers to be able to see somebody who have actually been through it and actually been able to overcome it, and then to be able to show you, man, how to overcome it as well. Brothers, I done came home, man, established my credit and all of that stuff, make investments and stuff like that. It changed the game. I'll never sell dope again. I know too much to sell dope.
I got 2 years at E-Upper.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
If I say E-Upper, you know what I'm talking about.
Heck yeah, absolutely, man.
It's probably crazy to go back and talk in a prison that you were
Yeah.
at for 10 years.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm just so mission driven, man. This stuff was given to me, man. It was given to me. I had no idea I was gonna do this. It just was given to me. You know, I just said, man, you know what, man, I was able to overcome prison, man. Now I'm about to go ahead and help other people overcome prison. And how do you overcome prison? Is that you utilize your time. That's the greatest asset that you got. That's what I did when I was incarcerated. I utilized my time. That's what changed the game. Right now, it's grind time. You got time, brother, to be able to focus on what you thinking, who you becoming. So then when you get up out of here, you can be something great.
Yeah, I like what you had to say, man. I said that I ain't got no kids. But everything you're saying applies to me because I remember how my dad did my mom. It ain't no different.
Right.
I take that same stuff you're talking about, watching your dad treat you as a kid, how it made you feel, how it made me feel my dad talk to my mom a certain way, know that I, as a husband, how to talk to my wife.
Right.
That's gold, man.
And all of this stuff is just relational stuff.
Yeah.
It's relationship.
That's smart.
Remember what we talking about is positive relationships, right? So even if we talking about like, man, what type of man do I want to be? I don't want to do the things that people done to me that was wrong. I don't want to give it to somebody else. So now I'm not saying, man, what somebody did to me. I'm saying what somebody did for me. It's a totally different ball game, because now whatever was done for me in my past, guess what? I'm not going to do it to the next person. So now my relationship is going to be even stronger because I'm going to know what not to do, right? Like sometimes people is going to give you the things on what not to do. So the way that your father talked to your mom, you're like, man, I'm not about to talk to my wife like that because I didn't like the way that it looked. You see what I'm saying? You're becoming conscious. You're not just winging it. You're not just in autopilot. When you're on autopilot, it ain't no telling where you're going to land at.
Right, you're using your intellect and not your
It's just your feelings, man. When your feelings control your behavior, brother, you toast. Literally, you toast. If your feelings is controlling your behavior, can it, brother? You'll never be able to get the stuff accomplished that's of any type of significance if your feelings is controlling your behavior. Because your feelings is unstable. Some days you feel good, some days you don't. Some days you feel like doing it, some days you don't, right? And if you responded to the way that you feeling and let your feelings control your behavior, you won't get nothing done. But your mind has to be strong enough to control your behavior, and that's how you get stuff done. Because you might be like, man, I don't feel like going to work. But your mind to be like, man, if I don't go to work, man, I ain't going to pay these bills at the end, and then the light's going to be out. And then your mind will say, it don't matter how I feel, it's about what I know. What I do know is that I got to provide. What I do know is that I got to produce income. And because I got to provide and produce income, it doesn't matter how I feel. My movement is dictated by my mind, my thoughts, my thinking. That's what separates us in the animal kingdom, brothers. It's our minds. If not, we would be just like the animals.
Right.
Our minds. And the last thing that you want is your mind to be used against you. I want my mind to serve me. My mind is going to serve me. It's going to serve me. It's going to create the life that I want to have, brothers. That's why I got a hold of my mind. Brothers, if you don't got a hold of your mind, somebody else is going to get a hold of your mind and they're going to make it work against you. And you're going to find yourself sitting up here like, dang, what the heck, man, I'm a legal slave. I'm going to be like, yeah, right, you are, brothers. You are, no doubt. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except for as punishment for a crime where the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist in the United States or any other place subject to their jurisdiction. That means that the only way that you can be a slave in the United States of America is if you get convicted of a crime and it serves as punishment. That's the 13th Amendment. That's the law of the land, Constitution. That means that the bigger companies is targeting the penitentiaries now because people are legal slaves. In America, it is 2.3 million people who are currently incarcerated. That means it's 2.3 million people who are saying, I am okay with being a slave. So you got Walmart, Target, Hewlett-Packard, Honda, Victoria's Secret, companies targeting the penitentiary to get the work done because they don't have to pay the people in the penitentiary minimum wage. They can pay them 22 cents an hour and get the work done. We don't have to go to Mexico, to the third world countries. Why? When you got people who are volunteering to be slaves, who have not got control of their minds, so now we are going to use their minds to work against them and make us money. And then when they neglect to develop into who they need to become, we are going to allow our children to grow up as adults and take our positions, and their children is going to grow up as an adult and take their position. That means that your children will grow up and become an inmate or a convict, and their children will grow up and become a warden, will become a prosecutor, will become a judge, will become a case manager. See how that stuff makes sense, brothers?
Yeah, one's broke down like that for sure.
Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's all I ever do is I just want brothers just to think. That's all I do is present the information in a way for brothers to do what? Just think. That's it. That's it. Because that's what's going to raise us to another level. And once we start to think, brothers, once we start to tap into what's inside of us, there's nothing out there that can stop us. Nothing. Nothing can stop us. If attempted murder, possession of drugs, drug trafficking, possession of firearms, getting released right in the middle of the Great Recession, working for minimum wage, if that can't stop me, single parent household, raised in the 80s and stuff like that, with the crack epidemic, if that cannot stop me, brothers, then nothing can stop us. Like literally. If you just tap in to what's inside of here, if you just start to take control of your mind, if you start to feed your mind with the content that's going to strengthen it, if you get in conversations that matter, where people talking about something, when you reading content that's talking about something, and then we too shall be talking about something. We too shall be thinking about something. And then we too shall be moving in a certain way, achieving something of significant value. Brothers, I appreciate y'all. I'm about to get on up out of here. It's 8 o'clock, smoke break.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, that was good.
Absolutely.
I like the way you break down everything.
Next time we turn AC on face.
Right, you know what I'm saying? You see me, man, I'm sweating bullets, man. I'm sweating bullets. Hey,
Oh,
G,
you keeping his head?
you tired, man. This your first day. You tired.
This is right.
I know. That's why I said, I usually be like, brother, man, come on, get up, brother. But I said, I'm going to let the brother go ahead and slide, man.
When you come back next week.
To finish, I ain't want to waste it.
Here, it's just right here. Just put your first name, last name here. That's all we take.
You taking this with you?
Right there.
Yeah,
No, that's here. You can watch that.
I bet.
Yep, absolutely, brother. It's 2 hours long, man. There's a lot of content
When you
in
come
there.
back next week.
Yeah.
There probably be more people in here next week. Though.
Yeah.
But they are working on us.
Okay, yeah. So, right. You got to do 2 weekends. Okay, first, last name right here, and then your children's first and last name over there. You got to do 2 weekends.
Yeah, I'm on the street. I ain't in all this. Yeah, I got a kid, man. My kid was killed by the police.
For real?
Yeah,
But your date of birth. I heard of that name. In Columbus?
Yeah.
Okay. Last four of your social. Sign the date right here. Your little brother, he was like 16, wasn't he? 13, yup. I remember that too, man. It was on the east side. Just put your first name, last name up here, street address right there.
Are you coming back in, or?
Yeah. So, what, y'all brothers be up in the morning though?
We do. Trying to think of the schedule. I've been here about a week, so I'm
Okay.
familiar with it. Might want to check with the front desk so I don't give
Okay.
any false information.
Okay.
But yeah, that's good stuff for real.
I mean, just real stuff, man. Like, just the content, man. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, for real. You
Good
want to
stuff.
lead by,
Good
example.
job, man, right here
It's-
in the age.
Hits,
Absolutely.
hits home for real.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, brother. Okay, and sign the date right there. All right, G.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll catch you next time, man. Get you some rest, man.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, are you got a copy of the book you can bring next time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, after you graduate, too, you'll get the books anyway. You'll get 2 copies. Absolutely. You get the Prison Without Bars and you get the Walker logo.
All right.
Yep, absolutely.
You got any extra books, man?
Yeah, so when you graduate, you'll be able to get the books.
Okay.
Yep, so everybody gets 2 copies of the book.
You know it's air here. You could turn the air on.
That's right.
Trying to get
Right.
in there every time.